Before the bell even rang on the 60-man battle royal that this entire pay-per-view was built around, a WCW commentator got legitimately kicked in the head. Not scripted, not a work, a real man lying on real concrete, actually being stomped on by two actual professional wrestlers who forgot the cameras were rolling. And somehow that's not even the strangest thing that happened on this show. Let's talk about WCW World War III, 1996. The night 3 rings, 60 men, and one genuinely chaotic pre-match brawl either made or broke the weirdest gimmick match WCW ever built an entire pay-per-view around. If you've never sat through a 3-ring battle royal before, buckle up, because this format is exactly as bizarre as it sounds. And I promise you'll understand why WWE never touched it again after this era. Quick one before we get into it. If you're into these deep dive 90s WCW breakdowns, subscribing genuinely helps this channel keep making them, so consider tapping it now. All right, November 24th, 1996, Norfolk Scope, Norfolk, Virginia. A little over 10,000 fans in the building. Tony Schiavone, Dusty Rhodes, and Bobby Heenan on lead commentary. And because the main event literally required watching 3 rings at once, WCW split their announced teams across all 3. Schiavone and Heenan on one, Rhodes and Mike Tenay on another, and Larry Zbyszko paired with Lee Marshall on the third. Yes, 3 separate commentary teams for one match. That alone should tell you how ambitious or how questionable this concept was. The show actually opened strong. Ultimate Dragon defends the J-Crown Championship against Rey Mysterio Jr., and it's the kind of cruiserweight sprint that made WCW's lighter weight division genuinely must-watch television in this era. Dragon eventually catches Mysterio mid-air and drops him with a sit-out powerbomb for the win. Good way to kick things off. Fast, athletic, no wasted motion. Then Dean Malenko defends the Cruiserweight Championship against Psychosis, and here's where I'll be honest with you instead of just hyping everything up, because that's not what this channel does. This one's a rough watch. Malenko spends most of it grounding Psychosis in long submission holds, which completely neutralizes the one thing Psychosis was actually good at, flying around the ring like a lunatic. Malenko wins with a reverse victory roll into a bridge, and it's fine, technically sound. But if you're watching this show for the first time, don't expect fireworks here. Then things get personal. Harlem Heat, Booker T and Stevie Ray take on the amazing French Canadians with a stipulation attached that actually raises the stakes. If Harlem Heat wins, their manager, Sister Sherry, gets 5 full minutes alone in the ring with Colonel Robert Parker, the man who'd betrayed her. Booker T finishes it with the Harlem Hangover, and then the payoff hits. Sherry gets her hands on Parker, throws him over the top rope, drags him into another ring, and starts absolutely tearing into him until he manages to crawl backstage. It's a genuinely satisfying bit of storytelling. The kind of emotional payoff WCW was doing really well with their tag division at this point. The tag titles are on the line next, and it's a genuine triple threat. The Outsiders, Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, defending against the Faces of Fear and the Nasty Boys. Nash powerbombs Brian Knobbs for the win after Hall cracks him with Jimmy Hart's megaphone. And here's the thing that always stood out to me watching this back. The crowd is fully behind Hall and Nash here. Even though they're supposed to be the dominant NWO heels, that's the power of the NWO storyline. At its absolute peak, they'd made Outlaws feel like the coolest guys in the building. Now, quick pause, because I want you to sit with this one before I tell you what actually happened. Right before the 60-man main event, the Four Horsemen and the Dungeon of Doom start brawling outside one of the 3 rings. Chris Benoit, Kevin Sullivan, known then as the Taskmaster, and Big Bubba Rogers spill into the crowd, completely off script from what was supposed to be a controlled entrance sequence. In the chaos, commentator Lee Marshall, who's positioned ringside to call the match, gets knocked down, and the Faces of Fear, Mung, and the Barbarian actually kick him in the head and chest while he's on the ground. For real. You can hear him yell, "What the heck is going on out here?" in real time. Clearly not part of the plan. He gets up, visibly shaken, and finishes calling the match anyway because that's just what wrestling commentators did back then. Benoit and Sullivan brawling into the crowd also meant both men essentially eliminated themselves from the Battle Royal before it even properly started. Accidental storytelling born out of genuine chaos. That's the kind of moment no writer plans for, and it's honestly more memorable than half the actual Battle Royal that followed. Before we get to the main event itself, there's a title match tucked in. Jeff Jarrett gets his rematch against the Giant following interference from Ric Flair that cost the Giant a match back at Halloween Havoc. This time it plays out strange. Sting silently appears, drops Jarrett with a Scorpion Death Drop for reasons nobody, including the announce team, fully understands in the moment, then just walks away without a word. The Giant finishes Jarrett off with a chokeslam. It's less a wrestling match and more a mood piece for the ongoing Sting mystery angle that was running through WCW television at the time. And then there's the Roddy Piper segment. Piper walks out with an actual signed contract demanding Hulk Hogan step into the ring with him. Instead, out comes Eric Bischoff, Ted DiBiase, and Vincent, with Bischoff claiming he's holding Hogan's power of attorney and can speak on his behalf. It's a segment that tells you everything about how WCW booked Hogan at this point in his heel run. Protected, insulated, always one step removed from actually having to answer for himself in the ring. Now, the main event. 60 men, 3 rings, 1 battle royal, and for the first time in the event's short history, the winner wouldn't get the title outright like Randy Savage did the year before. He'd earn a future title shot instead. Diamond Dallas Page tells Mean Gene backstage that nobody expected him to win Battle Bowl at Slamboree earlier that year either, and he's calling his shot again tonight. Lex Luger, meanwhile, is the pre-match favorite, according to the announce desk. The guy everyone in the building expects to walk out on top. Here's a genuine question worth sitting with for a second. With 60 men across 3 separate rings, how do you even build tension in a match like this? The answer, honestly, is that you can't build it evenly. It sprawls. Guys get eliminated in bunches you don't even see happen because the camera's on a different ring. But WCW does manage to funnel the chaos down to something coherent by the end. Lex Luger ends up isolated, standing across from a cluster of NWO members. Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, Syxx, and the Giant. It becomes less 60 guys anyone can win and more. The numbers game finally catches up to the one WCW loyalist left standing. The Giant is the one who ultimately eliminates Luger last, taking the win at just over 28 minutes. It's a satisfying enough finish narratively. The Giant reestablishing himself as a legitimate top-tier threat, heading toward a world title opportunity. But I'll be straight with you. As a wrestling match, the 3-ring format genuinely works against itself. You lose track of stories happening simultaneously, commentary is stretched across 3 separate broadcasts trying to cover it all, and the sheer number of bodies makes individual performances hard to appreciate. It's a spectacle more than a wrestling match, and I think that's honestly by design. But it means the show lives or dies more on its storyline payoffs than the Battle Royal mechanics themselves. So where does that leave this show overall? The undercard's genuinely solid, the Sherry and Parker payoff hits. The tag title triple threat delivers. The opener between Dragon and Mysterio is a great reminder of why WCW's cruiserweight division was ahead of its time. But the signature match this entire pay-per-view is named after ends up being more memorable for what happened before the bell, a real commentator legitimately getting hurt in the chaos, than for anything that happened once all 60 men were actually locked in. If you were WCW booking this show, would you have kept the 3-ring gimmick going or scrapped it after year 1? Drop your take in the comments. I want to know if anyone out there actually prefers this format over a standard Rumble-style Battle Royal. And if you want the next 90s WCW pay-per-view breakdown the second it's live, make sure you're subscribed. There's a lot more of this era left to cover.